Evan Engram, tight end 6, 73 receptions, 98 targets, 766 yards, 4 touchdowns, an average of 5.8 targets per game. Thoughts on Evan Engram?
Engram was definitely one of the darlings in the NFL season for tight ends last year. Between him and David Njoku when he was healthy, right? Like they were great kind of plays off of each other a little bit. And then he went on a tear towards the middle back end of the season to kind of cement himself in that top 6, if you will. So I expect him to be relatively productive again. Like I think tight end, 6, 7, 8 is well within the realm of possibilities here for Evan Engram. So I like what he was doing in this offense. Doug Peterson does a good job of kind of not necessarily focusing in on, but accentuating the abilities of a tight end. So I like his ability. I like the offense and being able to get the most out of Evan Engram. So he is definitely a guy that I am looking at drafting at tight end if the value's right. Right, that's the big key. But if the value's right, I am taking a peek at Evan Engram because I think he can duplicate what he did last year. Maybe with even the possibility of an extra touchdown. If he's given up a couple grabs to Calvin Ridley or anything like that, maybe he falls into the end zone 5 or 6 times instead of 4 to kind of make up for some of that. So overall, I like Evan Engram. He is a tight end that I'm looking at, but I'm not going to reach for him.
A Doug Peterson run offense will give space to the tight end. And I even like the we were talking about the impact of a Calvin Ridley, but I think that opens some things up for an Evan Engram, right? That opens it up a little bit so that teams may have to be a nickel a little bit more because they run a 3 wide receiver set, right? That's going to open up the field a little bit more. You subtract a linebacker and add in a defensive back. I'll take my chances every time. If I'm a quarterback and I see a DB is covering my tight end, I'm going to try to exploit that matchup, right? Usually you're going to have a pretty good size advantage. So I like that idea of Evan Engram as well. I do think you also made the great point of it has to be at the right spot. But I do think that Evan Engram going off now at tight end 8, there's a really big gap between him and Dallas Goedert from what I'm seeing. And I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes in front of Dallas Goedert when it's all said and done, and you're getting him 20 picks later.
Coming off the board, pick 91, right? So you're talking an 8th round type of draft capital there, which that might be pushing it a little bit for me as far as where I'd be wanting to go after my first tight end there. Kevin hit up the point again. It's Travis Kelce or bust. And I've kind of taken that to the point where I'm going to be looking at tight ends is probably going to be rounds 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that range, and really kind of going after the guys going through there. Because again, right, like Evan Engram showed out primarily because of the receptions and because of the yardage there. The touchdowns could come up there a little bit, but again, right, like this is one of those that, now you're talking about a guy that will likely be probably the 3rd option on this roster for it, with 2 guys ahead of him that are going to soak up targets far more. So I do believe in both Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley. So while it might open some things up for him, the points I think are going to look a little bit different for him this year, where it may be a little bit more touchdown dependent than necessarily in the PPR monster that we kind of saw from him out of that position. I think that he can perform that, and I think as you're drafting him kind of about at his floor, I think that he'll finish inside tight end 8 for you.